Hello, everyone. My name is Alejandra Segura. I am a sixth grade math teacher and a graduate student in educational administration. Today, I like to talk about and incorporate ideas and personal reflection from the experiences discussed in the case study titled, What Do You Do All Day? Navigating the Challenges of School Leadership as an Early Career Principal by O'Malley, Long, and King. The case study follows a second year high school principal going through what many people in school leadership can probably relate to, which is a day of overwhelming challenges all hitting at once. The scenario truly makes us think about how we can strategically respond to the complex and the challenging situations described. As I reflect and analyze the case, I'd also like to connect it to leadership practices and additional ideas found within Chapter 5 of the book Breakthrough Principles, which focuses a lot on talent management and instructional improvement. Lastly, I'll share how a strong focus on supporting and developing teachers can be the element that changes things around in tough situations like those found in the case study. I'll also add some of my own thoughts and experiences as an aspiring school leader. Starting off with the case study, we are presented with a scenario where we see what a possible day in the life of a second year principal facing various challenges, such as declining math scores, a shift in the accountability status of the school, low teacher morale, rising student diversity, and equity concerns looks like. Additionally, we see how these issues are heightened by the external pressures and the concerns from district leadership, special education staff, students who don't feel safe, and the community. As a future school administrator and current administration student, I recognize how real and how challenging these situations can be. However, it is so important to remember that effective leadership requires both short term actions and sustainable long term strategies and actions to address these situations appropriately. And that's where talent management, as discussed in Chapter 5 of Breakthrough Principles, becomes vital. Because how should we, as leaders, respond when it all starts to feel overwhelming or like it's too much? Chapter 5 from Breakthrough Principles truly helped me see a way on how to handle these types of situations. It emphasized how it's all about how great principals manage teacher talent, not just by hiring good teachers, but by also helping them grow, supporting them, and fostering a culture that makes them want to stay and develop. In the chapter, we are presented with a story about Principal Claudia Aguirre's leadership, which exemplifies how focusing on developing great teaching and educators in every classroom can transform struggling schools. She met with teachers often, gave regular feedback, and made time for collaboration. Over time, through these actions, her school went from being one of the lowest performing to one where almost every student showed growth. This story is extremely powerful, and it brings to our attention the kind of focus that could really help in leadership, especially in situations like the one in the case study. At the school in the case study, Brigadoon High School, the principal is facing a demoralized faculty, especially within the math department. Therefore, just like we saw with Principal Aguirre, to better the school, we must not react in a punishing manner, but instead take the opportunity to refocus on various areas for improvement, such as Lever 3 from Chapter 5 that focus on performance monitoring and evaluation. The teachers in the case study have already had a hard year trying to implement a new program with limited training. And now that scores have dropped again, they probably feel a bit defeated. So instead of blaming them, we should focus on building them up. Research shows that frequent actionable feedback, not just annual evaluations, is essential, which is also something that Breakthrough Principles calls to be a key part of performance monitoring. As a principal at Brigadoon, the establishment of weekly walkthroughs and coaching cycles with a leadership team are necessary not only to support the growth of teachers, but also foster a culture of shared leadership. This, in turn, improves instructional quality while also allowing teachers to respond more positively towards feedback that is consistent and specific. In my own experience within schools, I've seen how unmotivation from teachers often comes from a lack of clarity, of support, and of professional development from administration. Therefore, to encourage a culture of continuous improvement and communication, leaders need to be transparent and they need to be open to developing teachers and doing things like receiving feedback and effectively using data to collaboratively work together so that there can be a shared sense of responsibility and ownership to student learning across the campus. Additionally, like we see within lever one of recruitment and onboarding in chapter five, and with the high turnover rate at Brigadoon, it is important for leaders to ensure the hiring process is aligned to the goals and vision of the school, not just something that's done to fill vacancies. As the chapter emphasizes, hiring is a school's number one priority. This includes building strong induction systems, matching teacher strengths to student needs, and having those stay conversations to keep those top strong teachers. Therefore, as leaders, we need to ensure we are finding people who believe in the school's mission, ensuring that they are placed where they can be successful, and having those stay conversations to check in with teachers and make sure they feel valued. This kind of relationship with teachers can make a huge difference, especially with high turnover rates. Moving on to another issue we see in the case study, which has to do with serious equity issues, such as students with disabilities being marginalized in the general education classrooms, special education teachers feeling unsupported and ignored, and students facing harassment. It's very important to address these issues because they are a part of the school's success of having every student and teacher feel safe and valued. As principal, it's important to ensure there's real training for teachers on inclusion, not just for compliance, but to build a stronger, more caring school culture. An effective principal should also create a school climate that allows for all students to receive an equitable education. This includes using culturally responsive strategies and equity audits to identify any systemic issues or barriers that may be present. As for the concern from the special education teachers, it is important to implement strategies like co teaching models where there is a common time for planning and professional development to help both the general and special education teachers share accountability. Furthermore, to address the situation with the student feeling unsafe due to bullying, the principal should visibly affirm the school's commitment to inclusion and safety through student presentations, conferences, staff development on bullying issues, etc. Taking action shows that we care and we are willing to fix any issues causing harm to students or to teachers. Moving on to what stood out to me the most from Chapter 5 of Breakthrough Principles is the importance of building a culture of leadership among staff. Not everything can be or should be done alone. Distributed leadership is essential for sustainable improvements to occur. Therefore, as seen in Lever 2 of the instructional leadership team, it can be valuable to build an instructional leadership team of trusted teachers who can help lead professional development, coach peers, and guide instruction across the campus. In the case study, we see many teachers frustrated or burnt out, but some of that could change if they felt more ownership over the decisions made at the school. Because when we give strong teachers leadership roles, we not only increase the chance of keeping them longer, but we also grow our school's capacity to improve. In my experience, giving teachers leadership opportunities not only improves retention, but shifts the school culture toward collective responsibility and ownership. It's just important to remember as leaders that we should define their roles clearly and give them the proper training and support necessary to be successful. Overall, if I were the principal at the school in the case study, there are many actions I would take right away. I would establish a weekly data driven IoT team and walkthroughs to provide feedback to teachers. I would use the four levers of talent management to prioritize that onboarding, that support, and that teacher development. I would also have that open communication with staff and students to rebuild that trust and equity. I would also develop an action plan to support instruction, teacher morale, shared responsibility of the learning of the students, and prioritize equity and inclusion in everything we do. The actions might be hard, but the principal is not alone. Through strong teams and a focus on developing teachers can make the job more sustainable. Therefore, if our leadership is rooted in collaboration, care, and clarity, and is supported by the levers found in Breakthrough Principles, we can foster schools that not only improve scores, but improve all around. Thank you.